So there's thoughts in the form of words, right?
Yeah.
And that's the most kind of gross form of thoughts. But it's like
Okay.
you don't actually have to put your thoughts all the way into the form of words for there to be some sort of mental energy. Like, for example, if you're meditating or something and you sense some sort of resistance to some pain that's coming up or something, that resistance is actually on the mental level. But you don't have to be saying in the form of words, like, oh, I'm resisting this. Or it's the same as with the sense of like being a person. Like when people say, like, oh, I still feel like I'm a person. The only reason they feel that way is because there's still subtle mental activity. It's basically like it's mental activity in the form of a perspective, in the form of a context. And those are actually subtler than words. They've been refined down to the
Mm,
point to where they're subtly shaping the experience, but we're not even expressing it in words. And that's kind of what I call like the subconscious stuff. And subconscious, the way I
wow.
see it, doesn't actually mean that it's inaccessible. It is accessible, it's just subtler than words.
Mm,
Because you probably don't have any bad thoughts. You like in terms of words, like you probably never have because you've done so much work in this. Like you, it's probably if you have any resistance in your life, I would assume that it's on a nonverbal level. It's on that extremely subtle mental plane.
mm,
Does that
yeah,
make sense?
possibly. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. So, what you were saying about the subconscious mind and like the subtle mental energies that might still be there, like how do you
Yes.
find that they get processed? They got processed for you, or like it was like a natural process, or was there like a line in the sand of like, okay, or did you do anything for that, or?
Well, it's really it's a never-ending process, but it's not that you're processing these things. The process or the progression that happens is just that natural refinement. And that's exactly what's happening with you. You're getting refined down to the most primordial levels. And that's like now what's happened though is you've probably cleared out, it's like I said, like 99.9% of all the gunk. You don't really have any like normal low frequency stuff in you. The only low frequency stuff in you, I would guess, is those extremely subtle, like subconscious hijackings of your inspirations and of your love. And it's not taking place on the level of words, but it's not something that you
Mm,
need to like process. It's all this whole entire thing, it's all about turning the unconscious to the conscious. That's really what it is. Like you're becoming more conscious, and that's the refinement. It's becoming more subtle. Like the deeper spiritual experience you have, it's more subtle. And that's what happens. Like that's like low frequency stuff is like the opposite of subtle. Low frequency stuff is like gross, dense, heavy, that kind of thing. But you're becoming progressively subtler, and your mind activity has gotten to a point to where it's not even going to be taking place on the level of words really. It's just very subtle, like context. It's like you can start to tune into how your mental structure is actually shaping your experience from moment to moment. And one example I give of that, which is a very gross example, but it illustrates it pretty well, is like if you were suddenly told, say you were having some like pain, and then you were suddenly told that for every 10 minutes that pain continues, you'll be given $1 million. Now, all of a sudden, that situation is put into a different context for you. It's experienced completely fundamentally different. You don't even have to be saying in the form of words that, like, oh, I'm going to get $1 million for this. And you don't even have to actually receive the $1 million, but just having that shift in
mm,
mental context completely restructures the experience. And so that's like a gross example of how like you form these subtle
mm,
contexts around what's happening in your
mm,
present moment. And then those subtle contexts drive those extremely subtle reactionary patterns. Whereas, like, again, like you're
mm,
99% not reacting, but any form of doubt that you could possibly have, it is happening on that subtle mental level. It's on a level subtler than words, but it's still mental activity. And when you can see that really clearly, that will clear up everything for you because that's what I'm talking about too. Like how with Emerson, with Hale, with David, with everyone. With Joseph Murphy, with Neville. They're all doing the exact same thing. They're just talking about it in slightly different ways and less clear ways. But it's all about refining down that mental activity because that subtle mental activity is the root of reaction. That's the root of the dualistic realm. That's the root of any sort of thing like that. Um, so if you can start to be able to see the mental activity that's running on a level subtler than words, you'll be able to make sense of like any type of experience that you're having. Because anytime you're having any doubt or any resistance or anything like that, you can tune into that subtle resistance and you can notice, wait a minute, there is a level of low frequency here. It's extremely subtle. It's not on the level of words. It's just in the form of like a context. Like I'm taking on a context that like it could be the context of like, oh, something is out to get me or something like that. And you don't even have to be necessarily thinking of it like that. But if you're even taking on that subtle context, that will be subtly reactionary based. But it is all the same thing. It all begins in the mind, but it's subtler than words. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, and I mean, in a way, when I spoke to David or when I'm speaking to you now, you're putting a different context to things, right? So he was like, well, what he said when he heard the story, he was like, wow, okay, this is a sign of the level where you guys are, and it's a sign of the work that you have to do here, and it's you know what I mean. So even if I'm not thinking about it, it kind of reframed it.
Yeah,
And what you're saying now is also reframing in a way, because you're saying,
exactly.
so the
And
demiurge has a frame
and
of like, no, you're not quite there, and then you're coming with, well, actually, no,
and
but
and
it's another frame, right?
and what I'm giving you, I'm not even so much giving you another frame. I'm explaining the architecture of framing itself to you so that you can see, like, even when David did that, what he was doing, he was giving you a higher frequency context, a higher sort of like frequency context on your experience. But then
Yeah,
it's not that what he did was like bad, like that's good. The key is though, when you can tune into how the framing works and how the subconscious resistance works, you'll be able to see how if that feels empowering for you, then it can be good. But if it starts to turn into a reactionary thing where it gets subtly hijacked and it's subtly put into a context of like something being against you, that's when it's bad. That's when the framing has been hijacked. And then you can tune into that. And then you have options. You're empowered as the sovereign being to take whatever context you would like. So it's like if you want to withdraw the context altogether, you can do that too. And that's the same as withdrawing the mental activity. Like withdrawing the mental activity isn't just withdrawing the words. The way that you go into like very deep, transcendent, like unified states at will, it's through withdrawing the mental activity on that subtle subconscious level. It's even the context because the context, they're like overlays on the experience. Like they subtly shape what's happening. Whereas to go to the most like neutral, simple mode of awareness, when David goes to like unity consciousness and he talks about that most neutral, simple mode of awareness, for him, he probably actually is. He's taking away all the context. He's probably just not even necessarily thinking to explain like this part of it. He's probably
yeah,
assuming that other people are doing that, but a lot of people are actually clinging to his context. And that's the only reason why I recommend Emerson so much to the David people, because I can see that it's that David is so powerful and he's so amazing and his contexts are so amazing that it's getting just subtly hijacked because that's what the demiurge does. It takes something which is mostly power, and then it tries to get us to subtly like put a slight reactionary energy to it where we're like clinging to a context. Whereas like you don't want to be bound to any sort of context or subconscious programming whatsoever. You want to be able to withdraw all of that at will. And then that's when you have complete control over your experience because even on those finest levels, you can withdraw all the resistance to any experience. And that's when you can flow with any challenge whatsoever completely fearlessly because you're not even resisting it on the subtlest levels. And then even if something like a challenging emotion comes up, when there's no subtle subconscious resistance to the emotion, it just flows right through. And then that's actually how you have emotions in the highest way too, because they're unrestricted. They don't get like uh, distorted like through low frequency or anything. Like that's when you can flow through in the fullest way. Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean with the subtle thing, and um, I guess it's the
Because
mind that likes to
like
have a little bit of safety by hanging on to a context,
ex-
whether good or bad.
exactly, yeah. and you can see like just another example of that context. It's like right now you have a subconscious context running that's saying, okay, like I'm talking to Zane, we're having a conversation, this is what's happening, and you don't have to be forming that into words, but that subtle context is still running. And once you can start to light that up, how the context shapes the experience, you actually can withdraw it at will. Like you could, like in theory, like if you tune into this, you could withdraw all that context and just completely forget that you're even talking to me in a way, and just completely drop into the deepest states of unity. And then also at will, you would be able to turn it back on, be able to turn it right back on. Like that's like the sovereignty, is like having complete mastery over your mental structure, because that's the root of energy draining. Like the mind, the demiurge works off of initiating like low frequency mental energy, whereas like it's like, yeah, like you've seen, like you don't want to get rid of the mind, you just want to master your mind. And now you're getting to the point to where you're not just mastering your mind on the gross level in the form of words and more gross mental structures, you're learning to refine it and master it to the most subtle, like elegant levels, like those very refined contexts.
Hmm. Yeah, it's quite. I like the idea of withdrawing the context. Actually, I was just playing with it. It's very cool
Yeah,
because
you can,
it's funny that you talked about the subconscious mind, because that's a question that I've had, and I haven't. I mean, I've been just wondering, yeah, what's going on with the subconscious mind? Like, does it kind of go away? Can you, or does it have to? But it
this,
doesn't have to progressively go away, right? You can just unplug it.
which is what you just saw. And the only reason before, like when we first started talking about this, your mind was trying to say like, oh, like this is something like you'll have to process it, or like it might require
Yeah,
some kind of,
it's
because
another
it's fearful.
important.
That's the reaction. It doesn't want you to look and see how easy this is, because that's like kind of what David describes so easily. The moment you see this, just how like when I told you, I described to you like, oh yeah, there actually is a context running, you're able to tune into that and start to withdraw it. And it doesn't take effort. It's actually, and that's the effort thing. That's what's happening, is it doesn't even seem like maintaining a context like that takes effort, because it's so unbelievably subtle and refined, but that actually
Mm,
is a very subtle form of effort. Like that's a very subtle form of effort to put up that context of like, oh yeah, like I'm a person, I'm talking to Zane, like we're on the phone, like there's this that, like that, like that's all mental activity that's running in the background. And that's all the subconscious is. Nothing about the subconscious is inaccessible. It's all accessible. It's just not conscious. Like almost, I think it's funny that it's subconscious, but I almost think it's not like sub as in like it's almost sub as in subtle. It's just the subtle mental activity is what it is. It's not,
mm,
it's the mind wants to tell you that it's inaccessible or it's like
mm,
in the body or something, but it's not actually in the
mm,
body. The root
mm,
of body problems is actually in that subconscious mental activity, those extremely subtle mental structures.
mm, mm,
That is the root of all suffering. And
mm,
that's what I wanted to tell you too about the parasite thing. Like I completely agree. Like I think when you do the parasite thing, that sounds like for you, it's just coming from inspiration. Like there's no doubt that you're moving 99.9% off of inspiration. But a very key to distinction to make is that the root of all healing is not in like, it's not in like parasite cleanses or anything. It's in withdrawing that mental subconscious activity. Because when you do that, that is the root of all mental resistance, and that's the root of all reactionary energy. And when you do that, even if there is some sort of like physical movement that would like be required for you to have some sort of healing, you'll be automatically drawn and inspired to that. Like even if you're meant to do a fast or something, that will just automatically flow through you. It's like I've had that kind of experience. Just a simple example where it's like I'm going to go get some food and then I get to the place and then the store is closed. And then before, the reactionary energy would say something like, oh, you should get upset that the store is closed, or you should go get something else or something. Or but then sometimes when that happens, I just don't react to it, and I'm just like, oh, maybe I should just like fast, and there's no resistance to it, and
mm.
so I just flow through
Yeah,
it. And then that's
yeah,
how
I love that.
even something like not having food, like even something like if say you couldn't eat for a week, you're just stranded, if you're able to be non-reactive to that and just flow with
Oh
it,
yeah.
that can actually be the ultimate healing thing, and you'll be automatically guided to anything like that that you need. And that's really key to see because that's in reclaiming the sovereignty. Because if you're putting up any sort of subtle context that you need anything to heal you, that's putting up a subtle context of resistance and disempowerment. Like the only reason these things are actually healing you is because you're moving from that inspiration and you're being pulled to these things and these things are being pulled to you. But you don't actually need those. You could be locked in a cage, like with nothing. But just because of the fact that you're a sovereign being, through withdrawing those most subtle layers of subconscious resistance, you can transcend any experience. And like, um, so yeah, does that kind of
Yeah,
work?
I mean, at some point I got into, have you heard of Christian Science?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I got into that. And I mean, these guys, it's pretty wild what they do, right? It's pretty wild. They do miracles all the time, right? And they don't use like even like if they bump their head, they won't put ice on it, like nothing. They use nothing from the 3D to heal themselves, right?
Yeah,
It's all through the power of God and through the power of whatever, through the higher power. That's it. And
yeah.
so I've been into that as well at some point. I also went through that, and yeah, I mean, uh,
But
yeah,
even that too,
I
even the
understand that it's totally possible because they're coming from sovereignty basically. So
exactly.
the founder of it, she used to like she brought people back from the dead, and she used to like pick up a child who can't walk, and they would walk and all that kind of thing. It's from but their stuff is from sovereignty, but it's still got I mean, it's still like a lot of prayers and, like a lot of reading and tons of books that are complicated. And I mean, I did love it as well. I went into it, but yeah, I just prefer less, yeah, I just prefer it a bit less complicated.
yeah,
A bit
yeah,
more
that's the
direct.
thing. Because even that's another example. They probably are maybe like 90% sovereignty, but there's that small percentage of hijacking and like distortion. And again, that doesn't invalidate the whole thing. That's the thing. That's like
Yeah.
this is the root of all healing. Like any healing that's happening at the primordial level, that's like changing the entire structure. It begins in these mental levels, and that's why manifestation is actually real. Like all the manifestation people, they're actually right. Like your thoughts do create your experience, but what they don't explain, no one has explained this. I've never heard anyone explain this like this, is that the mental activity goes subtler than words. And then it shapes the experience. And even the most subtle context, they provoke the emotions, and then the emotions seem like the challenge. And then we react to that by trying to change the emotions. But the way to change the emotions is never actually in trying to push or pull on the emotions. It's in
Yeah.
withdrawing whatever context that we have that's limiting the emotions from flowing through, because the emotions will automatically flow and purify and refine and resolve when we're not putting up
Mm.
any resistance to them. When we're putting up subconscious resistance to them, that's what keeps us like slightly frozen or like resistant, and it keeps us repeating patterns, and then we can never find it because it's unconscious. um
So is that something you came up with, or how did you come up to with
I
the
just saw it.
context?
It just was clear to me after finding David, and I really transferred. Like I had a distinct moment where I went from lots of subtle mental activity going, but there was no words, but there was still lots of subtle mental activity, and then it all dropped away. And then in that moment, I saw my exact problem. That was my entire problem. I was like you, I had been so focused on the word aspect, and my thoughts in the form of words were amazing. I never think bad thoughts in the form of words, but I was taking extremely subtle, refined context on my experience, and it was shaping my entire experience. It was provoking subtle emotional reactions from me. And then I kept trying to correct the emotions through various healing things and through like theory and through things like that. But I was never seeing that primordial root, which is in that subtle mental level. And then once you're able to withdraw the context at will, you really truly never have another problem again, because anytime you're putting up any resistance to the present moment, you'll become aware enough of even those most subtle subconscious contexts that you're taking on your life, and you can withdraw all of it at will. And then that's how the most power flows through you, because that's like true sovereignty. Like the context are trying to like subtly keep you linked into the matrix and keep you like reacting and like playing on that plane on an unconscious level. But um that is the underlying structure, and that's why everyone's so confused, because they think, oh, I don't have words, like, so that's it. Like once you then that you're taking on very subtle low frequency context, and over time like that does lead to problems, like, and then it's very hard to figure out the root of the problem because you've refined your thoughts down to where you're not having words. And then no one explains this. No one explains that it goes on a subtle level, but it's exactly like you saw. This is actually extremely simple. Like, if you just point out, like, oh, yeah, I do have the context, of, like, I'm on the phone right now, you can see how that's running, but no one points that out.
Mm.
And that's the root of all of it. Like, any situation you're possibly having, like, that's exactly how you healed your big problem when everyone was out to get you. You guys were withdrawing even those most subtle contexts, and that's actually like sometimes those challenges again, it goes into why it's like the greatest gift. Like it is those biggest challenges that almost force us to lock in and go into those deepest stages of presence. Like it is sometimes during the hardest moments that we access the deepest
Oh
stages of
yeah.
presence. And that was almost a demonstration to you that, like, hey, you can do this even in the most extreme situation. But now what's happening is it's being revealed to you on the more gross level, like this more subtle refinement is being revealed to you on the more gross level, because that's how the process of understanding works. Like we tend to understand something on a nonverbal level years before we can actually put it into words. So this is like a pretty new understanding, like being able to put this like subtle mental activity in the form of words. But once you framework it like this and you really really see it, that's like when you've built, that's like you'll have built a structure which is like, it is like the master key. Like this is like the root of all of it. And that is like why David nailed it, because this is also effortless being. It's just noticing that for you, it's the context doesn't feel like effort. It's extremely subtle. But that is effort. It's a very, very subtle amount of effort. And when you can become tuned into even those and withdraw those at will, that's how you drop into like unity consciousness and like things at will.
Mm. Mm. Uh-huh. That's cool. Now the yeah, now I'm like now it's like saying, well, you don't know how to do that, but I know it's totally it's just a demiurge chatting. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you'll become more and more aware of it. Like now that we've lit this up, you'll be able to notice in your day-to-day life, like, wait a second, I'm taking a context here. And again, it's not that all contexts are bad. Like you want to be able to use context consciously, like to your advantage. Like it's not that you want to forget that you're talking to me. You want context, but you don't want to be unconsciously driven by context. And so the more
Mm.
you light this up and you notice how the context is shaping your experience, you'll be able to notice it in all kinds of things. Like it is a sort of,
Mm.
that's how it
Yeah.
refines down on deeper, deeper levels. Like you may just be spending time with someone, and then you may notice, oh, wait, there's a very subtle context here where I like subtly have some sort of resistance to this person or something. Like I'm subtly
Mm.
believing that there's something wrong with them. I'm not even putting it in the form of words, but there's just an
Mm.
extremely subtle context of like, there's something not quite right with
Mm.
this moment. But then that goes into the ultimate way to heal people is just through that no context, that
Yeah.
non-conceptualness, like just being with them exactly as they are. And
Yeah.
that's meeting them as like the sovereign being. Whereas when you're putting up
Yeah.
subtle mental context unconsciously, that's actually how we invite other people into suffering. Like we're inviting them into that reactionary energy unconsciously, and they're doing it to us too, both ways. But it only takes also one person to pull the plug a lot of the time, for like really profound things to happen. And you've probably experienced that many times in your life where you had like very deep, like spiritual, like moments with people and like moments of presence and like healing and things. But in those moments, the mind was trying to tell you that it had to do with something external or something, or it had to do, or I don't know. I'm not trying to say like, again, like I think you're clear on 99% of this, but I'm just saying like that's the kind of thing the mind tries to say. It tries to subtly make it external or subtly make it less clear than it is. But it does all come down to the subtle mental activity. And that's like, it's exactly like you said. That's why David cracked the code. Like David actually did uh if you fully understand what effortless being means, it does explain this, but it's not clear in the sense that it doesn't explain the subtle mental activity because it doesn't seem like effort. It doesn't, but it is effort.
Yeah. No, I see it. I see. I'm just looking at it in different areas now, and I can see.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I can see it.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And you can also you can pick some contexts that are useful as well.
That's what I'm
Like
saying.
for
Yeah,
instance, yeah,
and in many ways, what's happening is it's again, it goes into that because you can think about the understanding process is actually it's the whole like as above so below thing is like a really good way of making sense of like things, and that's what's happening in terms of like this understanding. Like when you it's the same as like digestion. When you eat something, the first part of eating something is like you're chewing it up and like it's being swallowed, it's going through your system, you're breaking it down, and that's when you're first like kind of learning about these things, and that's when it's being integrated into your system. But the food hasn't actually yet been like fully broken down and like transmuted and integrated into your system to where it's like put into the literal structure. And whereas now it's like being this understanding for you is being fully integrated into your structure and to where you're able to fully actually conceptualize and understand on like the grossest mental level what's actually happening to you, because that's the thing, that's kind of the power, as we're using gross mental activity to sort of like expose like subtle mental activity, like those subtle contexts. Um, and like that, what I meant by that too is like that's the thing is like you exactly like you described. You have always been doing this. You have always been taking higher context. You've always been following this. You've always been like in super in alignment. It's just what's happened is it's gotten more refined, and you now you're getting to the point to where you'll be able to fully put into words like exactly. Oh, and you probably have already been able to do this. I'm not trying to like again like you're like super advanced, but like you like being able to put this into words is extremely powerful because you're frameworking it and you're reclaiming that power. You're turning the unconscious to the conscious, and yeah, and then the context you can use them in a way which is empowering. There won't be any unconscious disempowerment. You still want to use context all the time. Like you need context just to like
mm.
do anything. Like if you're at the grocery store, you want to have the context running like I'm at the grocery store. Like and that and that happens intuitively automatically. Like you're not going to have to teach yourself like how to strategically use context, but just what will happen is you'll become progressively more conscious of when the unconscious contexts are running, like when those subtle like
Yeah,
limiting contexts are running, and then you'll be able to, as soon as you notice it, you just stop consenting to it. Basically you
yeah,
just withdraw it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's brilliant. That's
Yeah,
so good. I think that's exactly what I needed to hear. Like that's
yeah,
brilliant.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that because yeah, on the level of thoughts, the thoughts are clear. Even on the level of emotions, like it's very subtle, it's really, really subtle now.
You're so refined, and that's almost like what makes it so hard because when you think about the context, that's why I sometimes say resist the word resistance instead of effort, because resistance to me makes more sense in terms of this subtle context, because the contexts do not feel
Yeah,
like effort. Like it doesn't feel like
yeah,
effort to be saying that I'm like putting up like the context that I'm in a grocery store. But when I withdraw it at will, I actually can see how it is an extremely subtle level of resistance, because it's basically like you're subtly putting up that subject object mode. You're consenting to the
yeah.
idea that you're the person, you're consenting to the idea that you're in the grocery store. And it all actually is good. And that's all in a way, that's all actually like safety mechanisms. Like it's actually for your safety. It's trying to like protect you. Because if you because but yeah, because if
I'm
you
just
walk
imagining if you didn't have any contacts in the grocery shop.
exactly, it's a good yeah, you just can't remember anything, like you're just blooping out, like you're just like yeah, like you want to have context, you just don't want to be unconsciously run by context.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, that's great. That's great. Yeah, cool, cool.
And that's what you've been doing this whole time. Like that's actually all the wisdom basically that you get even from like David. It's just the refining of context. He's giving you context, like mental structures which point to those things which are subtler than mental structures, like these subtle, like, it's still mental structures, but it's it's like the mental structures which point to, does that make sense? Like the
Mm.
invitations, like seeing the mind activity as invitations, that's actually a context. That's shifting the context. When you don't see it as invitations, you're taking a different context. You're taking the context of like, oh, like it's personalized, or this has to do with trauma, or this is external to me, or something like that. Whereas the invitations is a higher context. Really, all the word invitation means is optional. It's just telling you that everything is optional, and that's a higher context. And then what I'm doing here is I'm actually doing the same thing. I'm just explaining to you that even the context is optional, because the mind tries to hijack even those extremely subtle contexts and turn those into a subtle reactionary thing. But the real power is in realizing that even pure context itself is optional. You can withdraw even the subtlest layers of mental activity.
Mm. I mean, I love also what David says about trauma, because I've always had a resistance to this whole, like, like now there's so much like trauma awareness and trauma, blah, 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 and trauma this and trauma that in the healing space for the past few years. It's just been the buzzword.
Yeah.
And I always felt that there was something really off with it, but not being able to express it. And one of the things was like, first of all, I think like it made people, a lot of people just identified with their traumas and started to like compete for the biggest trauma.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
there's like a sort
yeah,
of kind of competition about who's the most traumatized. and
yeah.
and uh and when I heard
And
this thing about tendency, that when he speaks about, there's a group call with David where he talks to this woman about trauma. And did you see it?
was it the most recent one? I've seen all the group calls, but
Um, okay. And I mean, he just like the way he was like, well, if you want to believe this as the infinite being, you're welcome to, kind of. That was his
yeah,
answer. And then you can, because no, but explaining it as a tendency rather than, yeah, a tendency to accept certain type of invitations. I think that was really great. That really worked. I was like, okay, yeah, he nailed it again.
yeah. And that's the thing too. Like the thing is, it's not about like when David talks about like not focusing on trauma, it's not to dismiss trauma. Trauma is very, very real. Like if you have gone through intense physical suffering, like that
Yeah.
stuff is in you and it hurts and it's like it causes all kind of effects. But the key is the root of trauma is it's laid down on these neurological levels, which is activated by this subconscious mental activity. So that's why David is telling people he's actually healing their trauma by telling them not to focus on the trauma. Like, because if you're reacting to the trauma and you're taking on the context that you need to like react to it and do something about it, that perpetuates it. But the true way to heal the trauma is getting at these primordial levels. That's the base of it. It's in your neural activity, and your neural activity is
Yeah.
activated by your mental activity, which is this subconscious programming. And that's actually even in like science. Like they talk about that, like the root of like emotional repression and like disease and stuff. Like they say that that begins with mental activity. Like it happens on the subconscious
Mm,
level. But they explain it externally. They don't explain it in terms of first person. They're explaining it in terms of neurons and that kind of thing.
yeah.
And it makes it seem inaccessible. But as you just saw, it's actually extremely accessible. You can tune into these contexts. You can always see like what context you're taking on a situation. And once you light that up and you make that unconscious conscious, you can withdraw it at will. And then you can see, you can really truly understand like what's happening with any teacher. They're really just giving more refined context. Like another context of David's that is like great, but it gets hijacked is that whole thing where he tells people like the more potential you have, like the more trauma you'll have, kind of. Like he's like, the more potential you'll have, the more targeted you'll be, or something. And like that's an empowering context, and that's good to take for empowerment. But it's also so easily hijacked. Like it's not necessarily true that if someone never had trauma, that they just have no potential or something. Like, and but for some people that hear
Yeah.
that, they would probably that would, and that's not really what he's saying. But it would be easy for that context to get hijacked and turn into like a disempowerment. Whereas, like, it's not actually about being bound to any context. It's about reclaiming your
Yeah.
sovereignty and realizing the contexts are completely in your control. You can do whatever you want with the context.
And I think it is useful to navigate the 3D. Like you need to have a little bit of understanding, otherwise you're I don't know, you're it's I mean, for me, the thing for the koshas, for instance, that is like so useful. And
Yeah.
yes, it's a concept, but hey,
But it
it's explaining how things
and
are working.
it's a concept in the way that if we talk about gravity, like that would be a concept, but at the same
Exactly.
time, gravity is real. Like you want to live like as if
Yeah,
gravity is real. Like you don't want to forget
yeah,
about the context of gravity, and that's the koshas. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's yeah, and this subconscious stuff will put the koshas into even way clearer light for you. Because before there was still probably a slight amount of confusion about exactly what is the mechanisms of getting into like the body of bliss and like the body of wisdom, but it comes down to this subconscious resistance. Like the more you withdraw that, you're automatically more in those deeper states of like the causal body and unity. And again, like like you never actually leave either of those. You're always in effortless being, you're
Yeah.
always in the causal body, but the percentage of which that is like a felt sort of experience and you feel like you're in that mode, it has to do with how much subconscious context, like mental activity is running, which is shaping the experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. Are you talking about that on your channel?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I keep. Really, this exact point is kind of the thing I've been trying to say ever since I had my realization with David like a year ago. I just keep refining it down to clearer and clearer language. And I'm through talking to people, I'm seeing like that's like been a big kind of recognition for me recently. It's just noticing that it's all fear based. Every single reaction, we're actually doing it from subtle resistance. But even the fear is it's like 90% love. Like that hijacking is really like a big distinction too, because the mind wants us to like dump the baby out with the bathwater. Like it wants us to say the
Yeah,
entire inspiration is bad, but that's not
yeah,
what's happening. It's like with
yeah,
anyone, and
yeah.
especially with like spiritual seekers who are really high frequency, the things that they're doing wrong, it's not that it's all wrong. It's probably like 90% good. It's just that 10% distortion that's like hijacking and redirecting it.
Mm, mm, yeah. So sneaky.
It's so sneaky.
Oh, thank you so much, Zane. Thank you so much. It's really, really a pleasure to have this chat with you.
No, yeah, thank you. I love talking to you. Like I'm really interested in you in a lot of ways, like your story and everything. It's like really cool. It's really interesting.
Yeah, and yours too. I mean,
Oh,
it's wild that you got to go to have those experiences so young, right? You're still in your
yeah.
20s, right?
Yeah, I'm 26.
Wow. So you're having your Saturn return or something now, no? Or is it coming?
Well, I would say really in a way, I would almost say I experienced like self-realization in um 2019. And then it was a huge, profound shift. And I saw this mechanism back then. That was why, like within a few months, I was able to transmute like my entire experience. It's unbelievable. Like I talk to a lot of people and they talk like they kind of like haven't gotten that much out of this, like they haven't like really progressed that much. And like I really cannot relate to that because I am like thousands of universes away from where I was when I was a kid. Like it's unbelievable. Like compared to how I used to feel, I used to basically just be in intense agony all day, every day, and it never ended.
Wow.
And now I just
Yeah.
feel amazing all day, every day, and it never ends. But the
Yeah.
difference is what happened a year ago before David. I really, in a way, I would almost say that was the shift from like just being self-realized to liberation. Because liberation is when you see these primordial mechanisms and you never go into suffering again. Because when you see the core structure of suffering itself, these subconscious layers, you will never suffer again. You'll still have challenges. I've had some of the biggest challenges of my life since seeing this, but I flowed right through it and
Oh,
I've been
really?
fully authentic and open and I haven't labeled it a problem. And so it's actually resolved and I've been able to handle it in the fullest way possible. And that's like really exciting. Like it's like I feel like I feel free. And I'm realizing that the freedom before when I was into the manifesting, I thought that the freedom that I was looking for I wasn't even thinking about it in words, but I had this subtle context that the freedom I was looking for was in like maintaining this high frequency and then making a bunch of money and then like doing that kind of thing. But now what I've seen is that the real freedom is in empowering yourself, equipping yourself with the wisdom, the knowledge of these primordial mechanisms. And then you have complete control over your experience. But it's not control in the sense of trying to force your experience, because that is just reaction based. Like the true ultimate power and freedom is in having complete, like, sort of control over your mind to where you can see even those most subtle layers of resistance or like subconscious programming, and you can just withdraw it at will. And then, yeah, like you really never have a problem ever again because you
Mm.
just flow with life. Like, and then that's when things like just progress in the most full way possible. And that's what's been happening. It's really amazing. It's like my whole life is just progressing on like multiple different planes. And it just feels
Mm.
like limitless. Like it feels like it's like
Mm.
really cool.
Yeah.
And I feel human. I feel so human, and I think that's very key. That's why I keep harping on this disassociation thing, because the root of disassociation is subtle mental resistance. It's taking on context, and then it's basically like whatever context you're taking, you're disassociating yourself from whatever is like opposite to that context. Whereas like the true like enlightenment and empowerment is not in like cutting yourself off from anything. It's in having the full entire spectrum available to you, like not like cutting off anything, like just being able to like master things at the most subtle level, and then you can play with it and you can take on whatever context you like, and you can really like that's like liberation, I would say.
Mm.
And because it's like I said, that's when you know, even if say tomorrow all my money ran out or something and I just couldn't eat for a week, I just wouldn't resist it. I literally just wouldn't like, and I know that's like a bold claim. I'm not trying to, I'm definitely not perfect. I'm not trying to say I'm like a perfect being. Like it's an ever unfolding process. But like I've seen that where there's no sense whatsoever in ever resisting a problem, even on the subtlest layers. So even if I were to go through the most challenging experience, it's not that the challenge wouldn't be there, but I just wouldn't resist it. And then it would um, resolve in the best way possible. Like that's just what it is. And then even if it doesn't matter, because when you withdraw that resistance, you're not labeling your experience a problem. And that's the liberation. That's when no matter what, you're always free because you've gotten at the primordial mechanism of consenting to not being free. Like the consenting of not being free, it begins in those extremely subtle contexts. And the most subtle context there is the subject object mode. That's the root of it. That's the root of separation.
You were like, no, just say happy and boom, something
Yeah.
comes.
And and that's yeah, exactly. And that's just an exact like smaller scale example of exactly what you experienced with the big challenge when everything was against you. It's like you're sapping all of that energy dry. And that's why all the challenges are a blessing, because basically that's what's happening is like the demiurge or the lower mind, it has no power in and of itself. The only power it ever has
Exactly.
is the energy you've consented to giving it in the past. So anytime a challenge comes up like that, it's actually kind of exciting in a way, because it's basically like to whatever degree you don't react to that and you just stay in that kind of like light energy and you just stay in that flow, that's like wasted ammo from the demiurge. And then you reclaim that and then you're sapping that like low frequency dry. It's getting drained away. It's being restored to you. And then it's exploding into these big resolutions that you're having. And that's the transmutation process of energy. That's your energy
Yeah.
beginning to unfreeze and like start to flow again. And that's what David describes like when you're an effortless being, like the infinite intelligence and infinite love will just take care of you, because that's the true nature of energy. Because everyone wants to say that like true nature is like a static state, but it's not really like that. True nature just means the natural like way energy wants to flow, and your energy wants to flow towards progression and resolution and magical enlightenment and all the most incredible things. The only thing that prevents that from happening is the extremely subtle layers of effort, the extremely subtle layers of resistance, those contexts. That's what keeps things structured into place. But when you withdraw those and you stop consenting to those low frequencies, things will just automatically resolve, and you'll just be guided moment to moment through whatever feels right to you towards whatever is like the best option.
Funny. It's funny. The whole thing is actually hilarious.
Yeah, and it's all exactly what you could handle. Like and in that sense, it's all grace. Like because now it's like what can stop you? Like you're facing
Yeah.
everything. You're facing things on the grossest level, and
That's what he said.
you're equipping yourself with the most subtle layers of wisdom there is. Like once you see this, like you are like really, like, you're fully liberated, like, this is kind of the last domino to fall, like, and this is what David's getting at, like, David did 95% of it. I'm just, like, clearing off that last 5%, which is that the mental activity runs subtler than words. But once you
Yeah,
fully see that, that is the root of all of your
yeah,
problems. That's the root of all the fear, that's the root of all the reactivity, that's the root of everything, because that's the very primordial level of reaction. It's that subtle context that provokes emotional reaction, then the emotional reaction will lead to some sort of physical reaction, or will just mentally react to the emotion. And then that's the cycle of reacting. But it begins on those primordial, like subtle, like mental layers. And then that's
mm,
it. Like like once you see that, like you have full mastery over your energy, because the only way you don't have mastery over your energy is when things are still unconscious. But like the more you light this up and you just see it and you just
yeah,
tune into the context, you'll be able to have a lot of
yeah.
fun, like playing with that and withdrawing it and changing it.
Well,
You can watch
yeah,
any spiritual teaching and see that's what teachers are constantly doing. Like they're just subtilizing and refining the context. And then that actually enables you to be even more empowered by the context. Like when you see it like this, David's contexts are even more empowering because now they won't be able to be subtly hijacked or distorted. You'll be able to use them in the purest and fullest way possible and in the most like sovereign and empowered way possible. There
yeah,
won't be even
yeah,
the subtlest layers of resistance or just sort of like fearful based context.
yeah. I mean, I never thought of that possibility that there was a mental activity like outside of thoughts, right?
Words, yeah, no one says that, but
Of
that's what
words.
it is. And it's actually
Yeah.
most of it, like most of the mental activity, like you have a ton of context running all the time. Like you also have the context that like you're in your house, like the context of what country you're in, like the context of like there's lots and lots of context and they can all be
Mhm.
withdrawn at will, like the more you tune into them.
Mhm.
They're just extremely subtle and refined. And again, too, like don't turn that because the mind will try to hijack that into like, oh, I have to I have to dig for
Context.
yeah, like I have to be the context digger or something, and like, but it's not like that. Again, it's just about empowerment. It's about empowering you to use the context at will instead of being unconsciously driven by them.
Yeah, yeah. That's amazing. You cracked another level of the code.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Is that like because that's the thing, it's increasingly subtler and subtler. And that's really what David means when he talks about how the more you rest in neutral, effortless being, the less inclined you are to go into the lower frequencies.
Yeah.
That's the becoming more subtle. It's like most people, they have such a strong unconscious pull to go towards more gross energies. Like like looking at the thoughts as only words, like thoughts are like the most gross form of words. So it's extremely hard to even conceptualize or even consider for people that it's not just the words that are like shaping their experience. It's even subtler than that. It's like that subtle context. But
Mm.
because you're so refined and like familiar with this stuff and like you were able to instantly do it. Like the moment I was like, oh yeah, like you have the context of being on the phone with me, it's just like that light turns on and you're like, oh yeah, like duh, like that was always there. But that's not the case for a lot of people. Like a lot of people, it's like they can hear those words, but then they just fog out. Like they can't actually organically like go to that experience. Which I mean, technically
Mm.
everyone can, but like it's yeah, really I'm just trying to highlight that like you are like super, super advanced. Like it's just these very subtle um refined things.
Mm. Yeah. Wow, thank you. That was awesome. The demiurge did not like that conversation.
Yeah. Yep.
It's going like completely out of business here.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's amazing.
Amazing. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Y Yeah, I have so much love for you and Misha, like, just hearing about you
Me
guys,
too.
I just imagine you guys, like you guys
Uh,
just sound awesome, so it's like it's cool.
uh,
I'm
I'll
rooting for
send
you
you.
guys.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah, yeah. I'll send you a picture so you see what you can
Oh,
see Misha and I.
yeah, I would love to. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen you with your big mustache.
Yeah, it's actually hilarious. My mustache completely came right after my realization in 2019. I never had a mustache, and then it literally felt like a symbol of, like, my realization. It's like a childlike symbol. It's to me, it's like me becoming a man, like a self-realized man.
Yeah, it's very bushy, right? You got a big mustache.
It's big, yeah, it's yeah, it's funny.
As a symbol. That's
Yeah,
nice.
it's yeah,
It's got a
just like
context.
that's the thing too. It's like it's not it's not a context that I'm clinging to. It's really just like a funny, silly thing that I
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
that's the power of it. It's like the contexts are great when it's conscious and you can do it at will. It's just not good when it gets hijacked. Like a bad context would be like if I thought, oh, if I lose my mustache, I'm gonna lose my power or something.
Yeah. Yeah.